Hey, my name is Brent here on Cloudy with a Chance of Meeples. Welcome to Ideas, a time where we sit down with publishers, designers, illustrators in the board gaming hobby and chat about how they got their ideas from just being ideas to the games that we love to play. And I firmly believe that communities built on conversation, much like games, are built on ideas. And today we have a publisher as well as a designer all in, all in one. That is Travis Hancock of Facade Games. Travis, how's it going?
Hey, it is going well, going good. Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem. You know what? I often just jump into these things chatting about games, obviously. And so we're just going to jump right into it.
Love it.
When did you fall in love with this hobby that we share? Because I will say we share this. As you can see, I have a few games behind me, and I can see
Yeah.
you have cards from the games that you have published behind you. And so, what's your, I guess, I always write backstory or origin story, whatever. Like, what does gaming look like for you growing up and in your adult life, or what did it look like for you, or does it look like for you?
Yeah. Well, let's see. So I come from a big family, lots of brothers, so and a couple sisters too, but we don't talk about them. Um, but we just, we played lots of board games growing up. Um, and then actually the biggest memory for me though was at family reunions. I have a
Okay.
big extended family too. All the teenagers would go hide away somewhere in the basement and we'd play Mafia just like
Mm.
all night. Um, and it was, I mean, those are really some of my best memories, just like how much fun it was, like getting away with a good lie or like finding the bad guy or I don't know. It was just really fun. So played that a lot growing up. Then in college, I don't remember really how the initial spark happened, but at some point I decided I wanted to make a Mafia game that kind of fixed some issues I felt like that could
Hmm.
improve it.
Hmm.
Um, I think it actually started as a Harry Potter themed, like
Okay.
Harry Potter Mafia, where they were like you were in a house,
Hmm.
but people didn't know what house you were in, and you like voted by house. So just kind of added another layer to Mafia. And I liked it. I liked playing it so much, but of course, like I was like, okay, well, I can't actually do Harry Potter because of trademarks and all that. So that morphed into a game called City, and then that eventually got the theme of the Salem witch trials. Um, I've always loved like history. It's always been my favorite subject, and so seemed like a good fit for how the game was turning out. Um, so yeah, and then I met my soon to be wife at that point. We're married now, soon to be at the
Hmm.
time.
Yep.
Um, and she's very uh, design oriented. So she kind of took what I was doing and said, "Hey, like we could make this look good." Um, we found an illustrator who was really good, worked with her, and then yeah, so that's the origin story of our first game, Salem.
Hmm.
So then at that point we put it on Kickstarter and it did way better than maybe it should have. and and I was just I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur and
Okay.
I'm a very like jump jump before maybe you should, very optimistic. And so I'm like, I'm gonna quit my job and just make games. um and luckily, we started working on the second one, which ended up being Tortuga, and then that one did well. And so at that point we had two that had gone well, and so we're just like full steam ahead. Let's make a life out of this, making games. So yeah.
So going back a little bit, you said you grew up with a bunch of siblings, notably brothers. Was there a lot of like competition and competitive spirits between you and all your brothers?
Yeah, so I'm the oldest brother. I have an older
Okay.
sister. Um, but yeah, so the brother right under me, him and I, we're both very very competitive. We both really want to win. So as long as he didn't win, I was okay. If like the brother right under us, everyone's like happy when he wins. So usually we would just like take each other out, and the third brother would win. So um, yeah, but definitely competitive for most of us.
Do you play your games with your family, like your siblings now? And is the kind of dynamics the same then?
Yeah, yeah. Whenever especially around Christmas time when everyone's here, um, we'll play. I've actually hired a couple of my youngest brothers as interns a
Hmm.
couple summers where they would come just be at my in my office and we'd just rapid prototype games and
Hmm.
they're all really smart guys. I really value their opinions,
Hmm.
and I think they're good ones to bounce off ideas because we're similar in a lot of ways. So like we kind of understand, I don't know, the base of where we're going at with some game mechanics, but then also have different perspectives. So I don't
Hmm.
know, it's they've been good to collaborate with and test with. But yeah, that dynamic of me and the brother right under me wanting each other to lose is still very much alive. So
So what are you playing these days? Obviously, you prototype and you play test a lot, I would imagine. But I would also imagine that you're kind of, and maybe I'm wrong in this. You're playing kind of the games that other people are playing, kind of getting ideas, seeing what's out there, and things like that. Like what's hitting the table for you? What would be like your kind of go-to games?
yeah, I mean you kind of alluded to it there. I wish I had more time to play other games because we're always working on three or four of our next games down the line, and so it's like so much of our good play time is like has to be testing those out. But yeah, when I can, it's so valuable to try other stuff. Um, my wife and I just did Pandemic Legacy for the first time. I know that's kind of been out for a while, but that was super fun. Um, we haven't done a lot of just two-player games like that because our games are bigger and with the
Mm.
big family, it's like I'm always trying to get five, six, seven, eight, nine people to play, but it's fun just having us do it as a two-player. And I think cooperative games are really cool. It's definitely something I want to try to make at some point is a truly cooperative game. But yeah, so that was good. Um, there's a little party game called Ransom Notes I've really been enjoying.
Okay.
Um, that's a great one.
I'm writing this down because I'm always looking for new things to play as well. So I learn about different games by talking to other people, which is kind of just the community that I speak of, right?
Yeah,
So ransom notes, I'm gonna have to look into that. But go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, Ransom Notes super good. Um, let's see. I don't know. I think cross media. There's a lot of inspiration there too. Like I watch a lot of movies. Um, I have a quest to watch every Oscar nominated film for Best Picture going back
Okay.
to 1929. So it's like 5 to 10 films per year going back then. So it's like 500 movies or something. But I'm working my through. But that always gives some interesting inspiration, just like the themes there and even mechanics of like some situations that are presented in the movie.
Hmm.
Um, and then even like, video games. I've been playing um Zelda, Tears of the
Hmm.
Kingdom lately, and just like the idea of that open world of like anything's possible. I think
Okay.
that's fun. Um and provides great ideas for games that way too. So yeah, there's inspiration everywhere you look if you're looking for it. So
Yeah, absolutely. You said that when you kind of designed what was Salem, your first game, you used the skill set that your wife has, or yeah, has and had. Was she a big gamer as well? And you were like, "Hey, this is like something we should do," or was she like, "You know what? I enjoy games, but I'll support you in this." Like, did she grow up playing games as well? Because you guys now obviously have a family company creating
right.
games.
Yeah, no, she's very much less of a gamer than I growing up. Her family was much more the skip bow Uno crowd.
Mm-hmm.
As few rules as possible.
Yep.
Um, but she's kind of grown to enjoy the games we do, and she's become a very good liar. All our games are, backstab lie and stuff, so she's gotten very, very good at it. Um, but kind of to reflect her upbringing, our core games are the book box Dark Cities games, but we also started a line of party games. Trophies was our first one a few years back, and then Parquet
Arcade.
just
Hmm.
recently. Um, and those are along those lines of like, learn it in 10 seconds, hardly any rules, just like jump in and don't stress too much about it. So she's had fun with those. Um, kind of reflects her family a little more. Um, but yeah, I mean, she's definitely more, cognizant of the graphic design. So she heads up like, the borders, the fonts, the overall
Hmm.
look, the layout, the rule book layout, making it very clear. Um, she she was like her yearbook editor, and then she went to school for teaching. She was an elementary school teacher for a couple of years,
Okay.
but but yeah, mostly just learning on the job with different design tools, and she's very good now. So
You guys have like built up this, like, I'm blown away. Like, props to you guys. It's amazing because um looking back at all of your Kickstarters, like you guys built this thing from the ground up, and it's just the two of you. Am I right in that?
yeah,
It must
uh,
be exhausting at times.
yeah. I mean, so I mean, yeah, it is at times. Employees wise, it's just us two,
Hmm.
but we do hire out, contractors, other companies. Like, I contract out our accounting, or, we hired a company
Okay.
to run our Amazon store,
Hmm.
or, we have a fulfillment warehouse that does all the shipping stuff. And for the illustrations, we work with our illustrator to draw those. Like, so little by little, like we've kind of farmed out the stuff that we hate doing the most,
Right.
just so that we can focus more on the game development and design. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a process getting here. Um, and I think, a lot of companies, they feel this pressure to, once they've had a couple successes, to just like ramp up the pace and be like, okay, we got to
Mm-hmm.
come out with 4 games a year, just like release them quick, see what sticks, and just like keep them coming. But
Mm-hmm.
we've had to fight that mentality of like, okay, we got to grow, we got to hire, um, and just like choose a pace that's good for us. So we do about a game a year, and that lets us like not have to stress too much about all the deadlines, and just like really overworking ourselves. Um, so kind of putting that life balance as a priority. So we found a good pace for us. Maybe that'll change at some point, but it's kind of nice.
Mm-hmm.
And with only two employees, it's like there's fewer mouths to feed, and so there's not as much pressure to like pump out so many games to like
Yeah.
just make ends meet. It's like we can slow down, make a really good game, and release it, and
Mm-hmm.
enjoy our life as well. So
Kudos to you. That's fantastic. I love hearing these success stories as well, of publishers and designers in the hobby, and so that's really really cool. But let's talk about the Dark Cities, Salem, Tortuga, Bristol, Deadwood in there, Hollywood, 1947. I feel there's kind of two things that connect all of them. Obviously, you said that social deduction is a big thing for you. Where did the whole idea of the books? Like, I'm a not a reader. Okay. Like, if I read a book in 3 years, I'm I'm
mhm,
doing good. Like, legitimately. I just don't read.
mhm.
But I love the look of all your books. I got my game shelf. She's got a bookshelf about 1/8 the size. And but whatever. That's our thing. So she likes the idea of the look of the books as well. But when did you decide to go about that route of, hey, let's make these things look like books?
Yeah. Yeah. So I've tried to trace this. We've been asked this before. I think it's because something my mom would always say. So our game closet growing up was kind of a mess. There were a lot of games in there. Um, but whenever a game would like fall to the ground or like someone would step on the box and ruin the box, then like no one would play that game anymore because like, pieces would leak out and just like didn't look as enticing.
Mm-hmm.
And we would, eventually probably throw out the game. Um, and so this idea of like, so yeah, my mom would say like if the box is ruined, like the game is ruined. And so that kind of stuck with me and I'm like, okay, well, like we got to have a cool box for this game. Um, I think I think in those early days too, I would skim Kickstarter and be like, okay, like there's tons of games on here, but they all kind of look similar. Like
Mm-hmm.
they all come in this cardboard box. So like, what can we do to stand out? Um, I think, played around with a few ideas, but we were just like walking through I think a craft store sometime and just saw a faux book on the shelf, just an empty book, and it's like that could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it would just naturally fit in my mind with the idea of like diving into the pages of history, like with Salem. It's like, we're trying to get people immersed into this world, so like let's open up. It's like this magical book you're diving into to like now you're there.
Right.
Um, that seemed to fit well. So it took a few more steps to, figure out how to manufacture the book box and get it just right. And it's a little more expensive than like a regular cardboard box.
Right.
So there's some work to it, but I think it helped us stand out that first project.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's become kind of our trademark that people recognize us by. Um, so yeah, it's worked out and
I
we've
think I think it's
enjoyed it.
really fascinating branding, right? We live in a day and age where like branding's the thing. And like I see the books on that little shelf behind you. They look like books, but they're games. And so you made mention that kind of you open this book historical. When you design your games, do you do like the history? Like, do you dive into history? Because you have very specific dates, like Bristol 1905. Honestly, I have no clue what happened in 1905. Obviously, something happened with the Black Plague because that's what the game is, right? But do you find specific years that you want to attach to the games, or like when you're going into a new design, how do you do that? Do you find like, hey, let's find this thing in history and let's dive into this, or like what does that process look like?
Yeah, it's a little different for each game. Sometimes the mechanics come first. We're like make a cool game, then it's like, okay, what theme would fit this? And sometimes it's the reverse. Um, Obviously for Salem, I developed most of the game and then put the theme on top of
Right.
it. And for Salem, it's like, okay, well, it's got to be 1692 because that's when this happened.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think the idea behind the city and the year, again, is just that immersive thing. It's like, okay, you are in Salem in the year 1692. Um, I'm also just so bad at naming things. So I was like, I'm just gonna name all my games the city and the year. Just call it a day. Um, with Tortuga, that one did start from the piracy first. It's like, okay, I want to do a pirate game. I want to explore this idea of a mutiny where you're like working with people on your ship, but you might also just throw them overboard to take over the ship at some point. So that started from the angle of pirates. Um, and then like Deadwood was similar. It's like, okay, I know I want to do a cowboy game, like a western game.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, for those, at some point, if it's kind of a generic theme like pirates or western, it's like you can really use a lot of cities
Right.
for some of these. So like for Tortuga, it's like, okay, well that sounds piratey. I think people had kind of were familiar with that idea because of Pirates of the Caribbean. They go to the island of Tortuga.
Yep.
Um, and then just finding a year where, the characters in the game could have been present or were present
Okay.
in that town. And like a year that like I think is a cool number. So like Tortuga 1667, I think it's a nice little number.
Yeah.
Um, Deadwood 1876. That's kind of when that town was being founded. And with Deadwood again, that was like there were lots of Western towns we could kind of pick from, but that one was cool because there were a lot of like interesting people in the town at that time, and it kind of worked well. Um, with Bristol, it's actually Bristol 1350.
Sorry.
That's oh, you're good.
Yeah,
Um,
I got that backwards. I said 1305, but
oh
yes,
yeah, yeah.
1350.
Um, that one, yeah, it was the Black Plague. So we had a few years of range we could work with, and we there were so many cities we could pick from because all of Europe
Hmm.
was experiencing the plague. Eventually, it landed on Bristol for a few reasons. I think because the plague entered Europe there. Or sorry, the plague entered England through the Bristol port.
Okay.
I think it's a pretty sounding city. There weren't really any other games with Bristol as the title, so just kind of lots of things.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, and then Hollywood focuses on the blacklist, like communism, Red Scare stuff.
Yep.
So that was pretty determined to be 1947 because that's when a lot of that stuff started going down. So
Hmm.
and it had to be Hollywood because that's what it was. So yeah,
So, what's the future of
yeah.
the Dark Cities? And share what you want to share. I don't know if you made any announcements. I'm assuming you are in fact working on another title.
Hmm.
Um, but where are you exploring next historically?
Yeah, so we have announced to our email list volume 6 will be Rome, ancient Rome. Um, and it's the years following Julius Caesar getting assassinated. So it's kind of the power vacuum that follows with like, of course there's Brutus who's just killed Caesar. There's Octavian, who's Caesar's, adopted son. Basically, there's Caesar's real son, Caesarion, who we had with Cleopatra. She's in it. Antony's in it. There's some other interesting characters like Fulvia and Agrippa. Anyways, there's just so many cool characters and cool like connections and storylines tying all those characters together. And so it's been a really fun theme to jump into. I've always been an ancient Rome guy. I think
Hmm.
that I think there's been a meme lately that's like every guy is like always thinking about ancient Rome a little bit.
Okay.
It's like always on my mind. Um, I think that's kind of true with me. I don't know. Um, we Holly and I have gone to Europe a few times, and pretty much any city we go to, I just want to go find the ancient ruins from Rome. It's like
Hmm.
because almost every big city there has some Roman tie, and
Right.
so yeah, we're doing that one. The gameplay is really fun. It's kind of very Survivor-esque.
Okay.
If you watch the show Survivor,
Yep.
where you whittle down to one survivor. Um, so there's an elimination aspect to it, but there are ways to re-enter the game kind of
Okay.
throughout. So no one's like kicked out of the game for
Yep.
good or anything. But yeah, very much like working alliances, deciding when to like really go for someone versus like beef up your character. Um, very quick game. I love it. I don't know. I never can pick a favorite, but
I was just gonna ask, do you have a favorite?
I hate to be the guy who's like, I like them all, like they're all my favorite. But I've been asked this question so many times and I can never pick one. They're truly like my children, like with how much time is spent developing them, it's like I know where you came from, like I know where you are now, like
Hmm.
made you just how I want to make you. I don't know. Like Salem's our best seller, so I like it for that reason.
Right.
Uh, Tortuga, I think, is our most like complex, and I'm proud of how it turned out. Um, I love the look of Bristol. I think Deadwood is often one of my favorite to play. It's just
Okay.
I think it's really interesting.
I'll say
Um,
that's the only one I have played.
mhm.
And it was a number of years ago, but the thing I remember, if I'm correct in this, it has those card like the cards that you can use either the top or the bottom, right?
Uh-huh. Yep.
And then you kind of have to decide throughout the game, are you going to use the bottom action or the top action, right? And you're kind of like always put into that predicament of what do I do,
Yep. Yep.
right? And
So,
then
yeah.
you go through the different there's like a standoff at the end, and so you want to like keep your friends, but then you have to like attack your friends at the end, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. So you're working with your teammates to like find and steal the most gold,
Mm-hmm.
basically. But then at the end, you will have to turn on your teammates and just be one survivor. So while you're working together stealing gold, you're also working to give yourself like better stuff for the very end.
Right.
And so like the person who wins is always the person who like completely uses their teammates for their gold, which I think is really fun, really interesting.
So
Um,
how do you know? Because you said kind of all your games, you're like, this one, you saw the whole process to completion, and this and that, you were going through them. How do you know when a game's done? You don't have a
yeah,
deadline. You don't have a deadline as in like, the publisher's like, hey, you know what? We want this to hit production by this date, so you got to be done by this date. Um, you kind of make those shots. How do you know when
yeah,
that is done?
yeah. I mean, I believe that like testing as much as you can is the answer to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so really, we'll just keep testing until, and pretty much every test I make changes. Sometimes they're big changes, sometimes they're little.
Yep.
Um, Usually through like literally version 80, 90, 100. Um, but at some point, I'll test and be like, that was really fun. Like, and I don't make changes. And then after, 10, 15, 20 tests of like, okay, we haven't made changes in our last 20 tests, like I think it's there.
Yeah.
Um, and we're looking for lots of things. We're looking for if people are really invested emotionally, like if they're screaming when they get out or when they discover who it is, or if there's some real emotion there. We're looking around to see if like people are on their phones, like just like not really
Mm,
into it. Like that's key.
yeah.
Just make sure they're involved. Uh,
Engaged.
yeah, looking at you know game times. I'll try to do a lot of tests where I get to play, so it's like, hey, am I having fun? And then a lot of tests where I just kind of observe and hand people a game and see how it goes. So kind of both.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, lots to look at, but yeah, eventually it stops needing changes, and then you
You just got to go with your gut and know and be confident and be like, you know what? What's on the table is what we want, right?
yep.
Hmm. So as we wrap up, 2025, if I'm correct, if my math is right, is 10 years since you started, right?
Yep.
What does 2025 look like for you guys? Obviously, like you said, you're working on the next Dark Cities,
hmm
but like anything else coming down the line? Like what does Facade what can people expect from Facade Games in the next year, 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, so I mean, we'll keep doing the Dark Cities games. I kind of have in mind to do maybe 9 of those eventually.
Nine.
Maybe 12, but I think 9 is a good number.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're working on that party game line. I have kind of 7 total in mind for that one.
Wow.
So the third in that series will probably come out next year. Um, Again, just really really quick and simple little game. Um, so we got those 2 series going. Um, in the works now is kind of the start of a third series. I want to make a trio of games that are a little more involved, a little more strategy, probably up to 6 players.
Mm,
So I've been having fun with that. That'll be probably a couple years away when we
right.
publish that, but yeah, kind of get that line going. And then ultimately, I'd love to make like one really big like RPG type of game, just like light RPG, but just make a
Mhm.
big old world building thing. Um, so that's down the line, but that's kind of the ultimate goal is to
Goal.
make one of those. So yeah.
Well, needless to say, you have ideas galore, and that's exciting to me to hear, because I'm always excited to try new things and to play new things, right? And so, if people want to find um, more about Facade Games, you have social media or your websites. Where can they find your stuff?
Yeah, our website's facadegames.com. That'll send you to all our social channels,
Okay. Yep.
Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I've been trying to dabble more with like fun little TikTok videos, um, little stop motion stuff with like pawns from the games and stuff.
Hmm.
Anyways, I've been having fun with that.
Cool.
But yeah, give us a follow. And yeah, we send out a newsletter once a month, just kind of keep people updated on our development process. We're trying to involve people more, like
Hmm.
they can see kind of behind the scenes the steps of making a game.
Hmm.
So that's been fun doing that.
I've
So
kind of
yeah.
noticed that on your website, and I want to give you props for that. That you kind of have built a little community um, over the last 10 years with your games and through your website, and you have a blog there, and you know, much a bunch of information on just your journey from board game design to running a small business, and for those that kind of are in the same boat that
Mhm.
you were in 10 years ago that they're in now, they can get some information and kind of learn from maybe the things that you've learned through
Right.
the last decade. um and so yeah, facadegames.com. I'll post a link to that, to your website, in the description of this video.
Cool.
And so I just want to say again, thanks so much for taking the time there, Travis. This has been really cool. I've learned a lot, even about history, about this Rome, whatever you were like spewing out names, and I was like, I don't know my Roman history. I should probably
Yeah, get on that.
get on that a little bit more. Um, and so I just want to, yeah, say once again, thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks so much. That was a lot of fun chatting.
Perfect. Well, like I said at the beginning, I believe that community is built on conversation, much like games are built on ideas. So my name is Brent. Until next time, grab your umbrella. The forecast is cloudy with a chance of meeples.